Did you know that the number of people living in poverty has increased by 100 million since the COVID-19 pandemic began? Meet Sarah, a single mother of 2 children who lost her job during the pandemic. She's been struggling to make ends meet ever since. Is the world really better off after COVID? Or are we just pretending? Let's get into the video. Did the world economy really recover after COVID-19? The global economy has recovered somewhat after the COVID-19 pandemic, but the recovery is uneven and fragile. In 2020, the global economy contracted by 3.4%, the worst annual decline since World War II. However, in 2021, the global economy rebounded by 5.6%, the fastest growth rate since 1973. This was largely due to strong growth in the United States and China, which together accounted for more than half of global growth in 2021. However, the global economy is facing a number of headwinds in 2023, including the war in Ukraine, rising inflation, and supply chain disruptions. These factors are expected to slow global growth in 2023 to 2.8%, according to the International Monetary Fund. The recovery of the global economy is also uneven across countries. Advanced economies are generally recovering more quickly than developing economies. This is due to a number of factors, including the stronger fiscal and monetary support that advanced economies have been able to provide. The recovery of the global economy is also fragile. The war in Ukraine could have a significant impact on global growth, especially if it leads to a prolonged energy crisis or a wider conflict. Rising inflation has also hampered consumer spending and investment, and supply chain disruptions could continue to weigh on global trade. Countries like Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Argentina are facing even greater challenges in their economic recovery from COVID-19. These countries are all heavily indebted, with high levels of government debt and external debt. They are also all facing political instability and economic uncertainty. As a result, their economies are likely to remain weak for the foreseeable future. In Pakistan, the economy has been in a state of crisis for several years. The country's debt burden is unsustainable, and its currency has depreciated significantly. Inflation is high, and the government is struggling to provide basic services to its citizens. The war in Ukraine has only made things worse, as Pakistan is a major importer of wheat and oil. Sri Lanka is also facing a severe economic crisis. The country's debt burden is unsustainable, and its currency has collapsed. Inflation is out of control, and the government is struggling to provide basic services to its citizens. The war in Ukraine has also had a significant impact on Sri Lanka's economy, as the country is a major importer of wheat and oil. Argentina is not as deeply in debt as Pakistan or Sri Lanka, but it is still facing significant challenges. The country's economy is heavily dependent on exports, and the war in Ukraine has hurt its export earnings. Inflation is also high, and the government is struggling to provide basic services to its citizens. The economic outlook for Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and Argentina is uncertain. These countries will need to take significant steps to reduce their debt, attract foreign investment, and improve their governance in order to achieve a sustainable economic recovery. However, the challenges they face are significant, and it is not clear that they will be able to overcome them. In addition to the countries mentioned, there are many other countries around the world that are struggling to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. The global economy is still in a fragile state, and there are a number of risks that could derail the recovery. It is important to monitor the situation closely and to provide support to countries that are most in need. The impact of COVID-19 on mental health. The COVID-19 pandemic has had a profound impact on mental health around the world. People have been isolated from their loved ones, they have lost their jobs, and they have faced uncertainty about the future. This has led to an increase in anxiety, depression, and other mental health problems. A study by the World Health Organization found that 1 in 5 people worldwide experienced a mental health problem during the pandemic. The study also found that women, young people, and people with underlying health conditions were more likely to be affected by mental health problems. There are a number of factors that have contributed to the increase in mental health problems during the pandemic. These include isolation and loneliness. People have been isolated from their loved ones for extended periods of time, which has led to loneliness and social isolation. This has increased the risk of anxiety, depression, and suicide. Job loss and financial hardship. Millions of people have lost their jobs during the pandemic, which has led to financial hardship. This had increased stress and anxiety, and it can make it difficult to afford mental health care. Uncertainty about the future. The pandemic has created a great deal of uncertainty about the future. This had led to anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Now, before moving towards the I section, if you are enjoying this video, please give a thumbs up. Subscribe the channel if you are new here. Did the global AI sector recovered fully after the 3 years of COVID? The global AI sector has made a significant recovery since the COVID-19 pandemic began in 2020. In 2022, the global AI market was valued at $46.2 billion and is expected to reach $190.6 billion by 2028, growing at a CAGR of 22.2% from 2022 to 2028. There were a number of factors that contributed to the recovery of the global AI sector, including 1. The increasing adoption of AI in a variety of industries, such as healthcare, manufacturing, and finance. 2. The growing availability of large datasets that can be used to train AI models. 3. The development of more powerful AI hardware and software. 4. The increasing investment in AI by governments and businesses. The COVID-19 pandemic also accelerated the adoption of AI in a number of ways. For example, AI was used to develop new diagnostic tools for COVID-19, to track the spread of the virus, and to develop vaccines and treatments. AI was also used to automate tasks in healthcare, manufacturing, and other industries, which helped to reduce the spread of the virus and to keep businesses running during the pandemic. As the global economy continues to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, the demand for AI is expected to grow even further. AI is being used to solve a wide range of problems, from developing new products and services to improving efficiency and productivity. The global AI sector is poised for continued growth in the years to come. Did the global healthcare system fully recover from COVID-19? The COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating impact on the global healthcare system. Hospitals and clinics were overwhelmed with patients, and many healthcare workers were infected with the virus. As a result, many people were unable to get the care they needed, and the number of deaths from COVID-19 was much higher than it would have been if the healthcare system had been prepared. In the years since the pandemic began, there has been some progress in recovering the global healthcare system. Many countries have invested in new hospitals and clinics, and the number of healthcare workers has increased. However, the global healthcare system is still not fully recovered, and there are many challenges that need to be addressed. One of the biggest challenges facing the global healthcare system is the cost of care. The cost of treating COVID-19 patients has been high, and many countries have struggled to pay for it. This has led to increased debt for many countries, and it has made it difficult for them to invest in other areas of healthcare. Another challenge facing the global healthcare system is the shortage of healthcare workers. The pandemic has led to an increased demand for healthcare workers, and many countries have been unable to meet this demand. This has led to longer wait times for patients, and it has made it difficult for countries to provide quality care. In addition to the challenges mentioned above, there are also some countries that have gotten even worse in terms of their healthcare system after COVID-19. These countries include 1. Afghanistan. The healthcare system in Afghanistan has collapsed since the Taliban took control of the country in August 2021. Hospitals have run out of supplies, and doctors and nurses left the country. 2. Venezuela. The healthcare system in Venezuela has been in crisis for many years, but it has gotten even worse since the COVID-19 pandemic began. Hospitals were overcrowded, and patients were often unable to get the care they need. 3. Yemen. The healthcare system in Yemen has been devastated by the civil war that has been ongoing since 2015. Hospitals have run out of supplies, and patients were often unable to get the care they need. Did the global food and beverage sector recover fully after the COVID? The world food and beverage sector has not fully recovered from the COVID-19 pandemic, even after 3 years. The pandemic had a devastating impact on the sector, with restaurant closures, supply chain disruptions, and plummeting consumer demand. As a result, the sector lost trillions of dollars in revenue and millions of jobs. In 2020, global food and beverage sales fell by 7.5%, according to the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. This was the largest decline in food and beverage sales since World War II. The pandemic also had a disproportionate impact on small businesses, which make up the majority of the food and beverage sector. In the United States, for example, more than 100,000 restaurants closed permanently during the pandemic. The food and beverage sector soon started to recover, but it is a slow process. In 2021, global food and beverage sales rebounded by 3.4%, but they are still below pre-pandemic levels. The sector is also facing new challenges, such as rising inflation and the war in Ukraine. Another factor that is hampering the recovery of the food and beverage sector is supply chain disruptions. The pandemic has disrupted the global supply chain, making it difficult for businesses to get the ingredients and products they need. This has led to higher prices for food and beverages, which is making it difficult for consumers to afford them. The war in Ukraine is also having a negative impact on the food and beverage sector. Ukraine is a major exporter of wheat, corn, and sunflower oil, which are important ingredients in many food products. The war has disrupted the export of these commodities, which is causing food prices to rise around the world. Now, if you have come to the end of this video, make sure to like the video and subscribe the channel for being updated for further these type of analysis videos.